Let me ask you guys a serious question. Have you ever had a precious object just taken from you? Just snatched right out of your hands? Something that you knew in your heart of hearts that if you still had it, you would be destined for greatness. When I was in second grade, I had an apple. I loved that apple. It was a Granny Smith apple. It was my favorite. My mom packed it for lunch one day. This kid stood up right next to me, punched me in the face, and took that apple. Ate the whole thing right in front of me. And now flash forward 20-something years later, and what's happening? I'm on a freaking YouTube channel talking about fictional pirates holding fake plastic magical fruits, and you know where that kid's at? He's the CEO of a Fortune 500 company! And I just knew, if I had that apple, I would be in that position right now. I made that entire story up. Okay, so today's video is going to be about devil fruit theft, because the Blackbeard Crew, the Yonko fleet, is now scouring all of the New World, basically hunting really powerful devil fruit users to make their powers their own, okay? So this was something that, honestly, you'd figure other crews would be attempting, because the whole reincarnation of devil fruits, that's well known. At least, like, the random foot soldiers in Doflamingo's crew knew how the devil fruit reincarnation thing works. Now, granted, Doflamingo had a really big stake in the whole smile thing, so maybe his crew knows about it. Maybe not every single person in the world knows how devil fruits reincarnate, but it seems like kind of an obvious thing. So you'd figure if this knowledge was common, you'd think that a lot more crews would be going out there in the world, finding devil fruit users that are kind of stupid, that don't really know how to use their powers, and, you know, wiping them out and then taking the power for themselves. But it really only seems like Blackbeard's fleet is the one that's really doing all this. We've seen it happen twice, at least on screen. Two confirmed fruits that we know that the Blackbeard Crew stole for themselves. We have Whitebeard's Guru Guru no Mi that Blackbeard obtained at Marineford, and so he has that, plus the Yami Yami. Also keep in mind, Blackbeard's a little weird. He's a little different because he can wield two devil fruit powers at once. And then later on, we just recently saw that they have Absalom's Clear fruit from Thriller Bark. Shiryu of the Rain now has that power. There was also Katarina Devon's Mythical Zone, the Nine-Tailed Fox Zone. They probably stole that from somebody, considering that's their whole shtick, is going around and, you know, getting powers for themselves. So yeah, she probably stole that from another user that had it. It's just that we didn't see who that person was. I guess they could have found it because they are still a Yonko fleet, so they have a lot of people working for them, so they probably find devil fruits too, but I'm just going to assume that was a theft, okay? So in this video, I made a little list here of possible devil fruits that would be on, like, their hit list, like the ones that they would definitely want to go after. Like, if they came across these kind of devil fruits, they would definitely try to get them, right? Now, this was actually kind of made fun of when Jinbei was explaining this to the Straw Hats. He was explaining at Fishman Island the two big changes that occurred in the last 2 years while they were off training. He explained the fight with Akainu and Aokiji at Punk Hazard, and he also explained that Blackbeard is now a Yonko going around and getting really powerful fruits. And Chopper was in the background like, oh no, that means I'm gonna be targeted! And Usopp's like, the human fruit, huh? I think you're safe. I don't think Blackbeard's gonna be targeting you specifically. Ah, Zeha men! Now that the Straw Hats have resurfaced, we can go after the strongest devil fruit of them all! You mean the Gamu Gamu? No, not that one. I don't want to turn into a piece of bubblegum. We're going after that one right there. He pulls out Chopper's wanted poster, has like 100 berries on it, like, that's our target right there. Blackbeard takes out a knife, stabs the wanted poster. Come on, men! Hey, you know what? Honestly, if you spin it in a weird way, it might be useful, because it was stated that if a human eats the human fruit, they become enlightened. So, I don't know, maybe, like, Blackbeard could eat it, and he, like, attains the next level of existence or something. He can phase in and out of reality at will. I don't know what that entails. He can have collective access to all the world's knowledge. I don't know what enlightened means in this context. And actually, I just thought of another application why they would want the human fruit. They have an animal on their crew. They have Stronger, who's Doc Q's horse. So that would kind of make for, like, an interesting subplot for where they steal Chopper's fruit, and Chopper regresses into an ordinary reindeer. I mean, Chopper could still be, like, their friend and everything. He wouldn't, like, run away. But then Stronger becomes human, And then, I don't know, at the end of the fight, Chopper gets his fruit power back or something. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, but they might actually go after the human fruit now that I actually think about it. Anyway, I'm sure there are devil fruits because the whole thing with Blackbeard was he was on Whitebeard's crew for most of his life studying devil fruits. He had like a devil fruit encyclopedia. He even said to Ace, I studied the encyclopedia to find out the exact fruit that I needed to make my plan work. So obviously he picked out the Yami Yami no Mi as the first fruit that he needed to obtain in order to make, like, that's just the first step for him to gather power. But he has the book, and he was studying it for years. You know for a fact there were other fruits in that encyclopedia that Blackbeard was thumbing through and being like, oh, that's the fruit that gives you invisibility, man, that would be useful to have. He probably looked at a bunch of them. He probably knows a lot of devil fruits just by their design and the number of swirl patterns and what kind of fruit they are. He'll know immediately what kind of fruit it is, right? So, I didn't put any Logias on the list because I thought it was pretty much just obvious that they would want as many Logias as possible, right? Like, if they came across any Logia, even if it was a Logia that was used by, like obviously you have, like, Aokijis and the Admirals, like Logias that are really powerful. But then you get to somebody like, I don't know, Monet. I mean, Monet is a pretty powerful Logia. I mean, she could turn into snow. So, it doesn't matter. If you run across a Logia, you're gonna take a Logia. I was thinking more in the regards of Paramecia. And this would actually be a great way of reintroducing fruits back in the series. Same thing with Absalon. Absalon had the invisibility fruit at Thriller Bark, but then Thriller Bark arc was over. It's just like, I guess we're never going to see that power again. Not necessarily, because the Blackbeard pirates. And they, of course, like Shiryu, of course, would use that ability very differently from Absalon. In fact, I think it was even asked in an SBS, like, now that Shiryu has the clear fruit, is he going to use it to peep on women in the bath? And Oda's response was, well, he's still a man, all right? But, suffice to say, Absalon with the clear fruit, he was a little tricky with it. He had, like, the hands of the dead, which, okay, I'll give it to you, Absalon. That is a pretty cool name for an attack. You're just strapping bazookas to your wrists and making them invisible. But hands of the dead, and then you just fire them off and people just drop down in front of you. That's a pretty cool power, okay? So he used it like that, and he used it to fulfill his lustful, personality by going in and peeking in Nami in the freaking shower and everything. Shiryu would use it in a much more bloodthirsty kind of way. That's with all the Blackbeard pirates. They take a fruit that might have been used by a complete simpleton before, but they use that power to, assassinate people or something. Like, it would be really intense with them. So, for that reason, for the very first fruit I thought of here, I was just going back through some of the earlier fruits in One Piece. Mr. Five's fruit, the bomb fruit that allowed him to turn his body into an explosive. So Mr. Five usually used this in a rather disgusting way by, picking boogers out of his nose and then flinging that. It's like, booger bomb, But just think about this, honestly. If one of Blackbeard's men got their hands on that thing, I don't even need to explain to you. Like, their whole deal is going out and causing as much chaos as possible, basically just kind of showing the world how strong they are. Mr. Five worked for Baroque Works, okay? He was kind of an enforcer of Baroque Works rules, and he followed those pretty much to the letter, alright? So he wasn't just going around just, like, launching attacks everywhere haphazardly. Blackbeard, if like, Avalo Pizarro got his hands on that fruit, he would just go to an island and just start, I mean, you could probably do other stuff with it, too. I mean, it might not just have to be, like, your boogers or whatever. What about your hairs? What about, like, he plicked off his hairs and threw them and those exploded or something? Like, each, like, strand of hair, you take a big tuft of hair and it's like dynamite or something. Or, what if they figured out a way to awaken the fruit so you can turn other things into explosives? That would probably be way more efficient if you could pick up giant rocks or something and turn those into an explosive and then throw those, and, like, as big as the rock is or as big as whatever piece of rubble or like a tree or anything you're picking up and throwing, the bigger it is, the larger the boom is. So Mr. Five's fruit, I think, would definitely be useful there. And as for where Mr. Five is right now, after the Miss Golden Week's Meet Baroque, he was actually living out his dream as a firefighter on some random island. So that would be actually a really cool way to reintroduce the Baroque Works fruits back into the series. Like, these were some of the first devil fruits that the Straw Hats ever really had to encounter, remember? Because there really weren't that many devil fruit users in the East Blue. There was Buggy, and there was Smoker, not really a lot of other devil fruit users, though. When they got to the Grand Line, you started seeing a lot more. But now, repurposing those powers for later, that would be pretty sweet. I also threw Mr. 2, Bonclay's clone fruit, his Mane no Mi, in here, too. Now, I know Mr. 2, he's he's in level 5.5 Impel Down. He's in New Kama Land, so the odds of them coming across him and taking his power kind of like low. But I didn't really account for that here. I didn't really account for like where they're at right now in the world or how likely it would be for the Blackbeard crew to find them. I just wrote down like which fruits they would definitely want to have. Like, let's just assume that the majority of these fruits are in the Devil Fruit Encyclopedia that Blackbeard was looking through. He would be like, oh, the clone fruit. That's something that I would be interested in. Now, Katarina Devon already kind of has that power. She has a mythical zone nine-tailed fox, which, as all mythical zones, they give you the ability to transform into a mythical creature, but they also kind of give you a bonus ability. Like with Sengoku, he can turn into a Buddha who is enlightened, but he can also shoot out enlightenment shockwaves. You will be enlightened. Boom! In death. You have Marco's fruit, which, by the way, that's also on here, so I'll just throw that out there right now. Although, you gotta be careful about that, because Weevil might be heading to where Marco's at right now. Maybe Weevil might show up, beat the crap out of Marco, and then Blackbeard's crew shows up to get the Phoenix fruit. So yeah, that's another thing. Like Jozu's diamond fruit, the Kira Nomi, pretty much all of the fruits that we saw in the Whitebeard crew, those were like prime targets for the Blackbeard crew. Not just because Blackbeard used to be on there, but also it just seems like the most obvious, you know, and, you know, Blackbeard's crew is basically the opposite, like, evil version of the Whitebeard crew, the way he's setting it up. So it just makes sense that he would want Marco's and Jozu's fruits as well. I also put Blamenko on here. Blamenko is that division commander, division number 6, and he has that unnamed devil fruit that allows him to pull, like, things out of, like, hammer space or pocket space or whatever inside of those little pockets in his cheeks. That would be pretty handy to have for the Blackbeard crew. You know, you just give that to some random soldier. He has pockets all over his body, store weapons, whatever you need in there, and he just pulls them out for battle. You know, there you go, done, right? But, yeah, moving back to Mr. Twos. Yeah, Katarina Devon already has that power to copy other people's appearance. She did it with Absalon, but it's like one of those situations where it's like, having more is better, you know? Like, if someone comes up to you and is like, do you want one person working for you that can turn into anybody? Or do you want 2 people working for you that can turn into anybody? Ah, no, we don't need 2. Just 1 works for us. You know, like, more people to infiltrate and everything like that, so I think they would definitely want that fruit. Here's a good one. Foxy's fruit. The slow fruit. Alright. Foxy has shown up a few times in the anime. Actually, he's shown up a bunch more times in the anime and in OVAs, so much to people's chagrin. But anyway, no, in the manga, we pretty much had that one isolated arc with Foxy, and he was there, and he's like, I am Foxy the Silver Fox! I have this makes you slow. You know, and then they beat the crap out of him, and they move on to Water 7, and nobody really talks about Foxy anymore after that in the manga, right? For good reason. No, it was referenced, I think, one time by Luffy when he dropped into Hancock's bath, although that might have also been just an anime-only thing. I'm not sure. Foxy is... he's prime filler material for the anime, I'll tell you that, because the Davy Back fight was such an isolated arc, and we never referenced Foxy after that. The anime could pretty much just, like, keep bringing him back whenever, and they've done so, like, 3 or 4 times, you know? So anyway. So the thing with Foxy, though, in the way he used his slow powers, he did not use them in an overly malicious way. He used them in a more kind of trickster sort of way. Foxy's thing was he was obsessed with the Davy Back fight, winning Davy Back fights, getting more people on his crew through the Davy Back. That was what he was doing, right? So that's how he used his fruit. You know, to trip people up when they're trying to box against him, make them slow down and punch them a bunch of times, or, you know, use it to win various events at the Davy Back fight. You know, that's how he used his fruit, okay? But I think you can imagine how easy it would be to use that fruit for assassination, like if the Cypher Pole got their hands on that thing, or Blackbeard's crew, right? It wouldn't be that hard. It's like, there's your target, they're walking around or something, and you use their slow powers, like, I can't move to defend myself, and then you just shing, and then you take it from there, right? So that's how, like, the CP9 or Blackbeard's crew would take care of it, and let's just throw it out there right now, it would not be a hard task to obtain the slow powers from Foxy. Pretty much all you got. The hardest part of this would just be finding where he is. After you find out where he is, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you send any of the Titanic captains after Foxy, it just, you know, Pickles would be in the background, Captain, no! And they would just like, alright, well, later. By the way, I wanted to bring this up now. Blackbeard might have a unique way of obtaining devil fruits, the way that he, like, covered Whitebeard up with that cloak and he absorbed the Gura Gura no Mi. He might have done just the regular reincarnation thing. He might have had a fruit or something on him, covered Whitebeard up, took the power, ate it. But like I said, if the reincarnation of a devil fruit is something that's relatively known in the world, why would he go through the trouble of throwing the cloak over Whitebeard? That seemed to imply he had another method. Now, with Absalon, it was stated that he was dead. All right, that they killed him and then they took his power and they gave it to Shiryu. Okay, they reincarnated the fruit and gave it to him. So it might be like the crew at large is just going around finding really strong devil fruit users, capping them off, taking their powers the normal way through the reincarnation. Blackbeard, on the other hand, might have another way of getting the fruits. And this has been, this has been theorized a bunch of times, like when Sabo was fighting against Burgess at Dressrosa. Burgess pulled out this knife, and people were thinking, oh, well, maybe the knife has something to do with stealing a devil fruit power. We don't know, but I like to think, like, even if there was another method, probably the easier way would just be eliminate the original user of the fruit, have another fruit right next to you, get the power, eat it. That doesn't seem to be too hard for the Blackbeard crew, for the majority of fruit users. Like, if they were going to go after Foxy and get his power, it would be so simple to do that. They wouldn't have to resort to, like, some other method or trickery to absorb the devil fruit power out of him or something. He's freaking Foxy. You sneak up on him and just wipe him out and then just take his fruit. Problem solved. No fuss, no muss, right? Anyway, so that's that. I talked about Flamenco and Marco. I mean, Marco's fruit has the power of regeneration. So, I mean, like, yeah, people were throwing out the idea that, Jozu's fruit should go to Shiryu because he's the swordsman, and that whole thing with, Alabasta with Zoro cutting through steel, and it's like, are you going to cut diamond next? And then Jozu's the diamond fruit, and we thought Shiryu was going to get the diamond fruit, so it's diamond Shiryu versus Zoro. A member of the crew might still get the diamond powers. Here's something actually really funny. I want you to think about this, okay? Let's say they still do get the diamond fruit, but they give it to somebody else. They give it to Vasco Shot, or they give it to Alvaro Pizarro, or somebody like that, right? They get the fruit. And then instead of Zoro fighting them, it's Sanji that fights them, and diamonds are actually very weak when you get them up to a very high temperature, because they're basically just really condensed carbon. All right, so if you get a really high temperature against diamond, that would probably be the natural weakness of the diamond fruit. Okay, so we didn't really get to see that too much during Marineford, but if Akainu went up against Jozu instead of Aokiji, Aokiji was still able to injure him. He knocked off an arm. But if Akainu went up against Jozu and, like, one solid hit him right with the freaking chest with his magma, that might have actually screwed Jozu up. Like, he might have died if that was the case. So it would be kind of funny to see, like, somebody else get the diamond fruit, Sanji, Zoro's rival, go up against that person, like, let's just say it was Vasco Shot, and then Sanji uses, like, Diablo Jambe, like, extra spicy, and he, like, flares it up, and he kicks the crap out of it, and that's how he wins. That would be kind of funny, because it's like, we thought Zoro was gonna, and it was Sanji. Sanji got the win on Zoro. That would be kind of funny, right? So, yeah, they're gonna go after those ones. But when it comes to Marco's Phoenix Fruit, regeneration, we don't know what the limit of that is. I like to think there is some limit, okay? The way it's shown in Marineford is when he goes into his full Phoenix form, he is like just covered in blue fire. And when attacks hit him, like when Kizaru's lasers hit him, they wound him, but the wounds close up so fast, it might as well be like he is made out of fire. He's not. He's not a Logia. He's not a Paramecia. He's a zone. He's a mythical zone. But it's like whenever he gets hit by something, his wounds just close up by that fire right away. But you'd figure there's gotta be a limit to this. Now, there's the natural things like Sea Prism Stone, like throw handcuffs on Marco. He can't heal. He can't turn into a phoenix. Or hockey, obviously. You would be able to hit him with that. But I'm not even sure about that. Let's say Marco transforms into a full phoenix, you hockey up your hand and you punch him really hard into the ground. Would he be, you've let go of touching him, you're no longer contacting him with the hockey. Hockey does not, like, negate your devil fruit powers when you're not holding on. So it's like, after the punch gets let up, maybe he could just heal like normal there. But I would like to think, like, you can't just, like, if Marco was, like, physically just demolished, like, if a meteor just crashed down on Marco and just shattered his bones into dust, would he be able to just, hold on, just flame on! I mean, there's probably definitely a limit to this, but from what we've seen of how he uses it, I mean, it's very useful on the battlefield, so they would definitely want Marco's. Baby 5. Baby 5's arms fruit. Baby 5 is now living with Sai over in the Kano Kingdom, which is directly south of the New World, so I guess it's not completely impossible that they might manage to get their hands on that thing, but the ability to turn any part of your body into a weapon, that would be pretty useful, especially if it's like any weapon that you came in contact with before. Especially if it's any sort of weapon that you came in contact with before. Like if you came in contact with a flamethrower, touch the flamethrower, you can turn your body into a flamethrower. If the Blackbeard Crew stumbled upon an ancient weapon or something, I don't know, maybe the arms fruit could replicate it? Who knows? Bartolomeo's barrier fruit. That's an obvious one. Like pretty much the fruit that has the highest defense spec out of all of them in one fruit, like, which we really have seen with the barriers. Like, yeah, Beiji's castle fruit, his big father, that had really high defense as well. But even with that, it was shown to be damaged by Big Mom. At least when we had the thing with the barrier fruit, we've never seen Bartolomeo's barriers get cracked, or, Bartolomeo's like, it's not gonna hold! We haven't had any of that yet. So far as we know, it's an indestructible barrier, and the way that Bartolomeo explained it was, it wouldn't really be much of a barrier if they could break, now would they? Right? Now, there are limits with how much surface area his barriers can cover. I made a whole video about that. Made a video about a lot of these fruits, actually. Made a video about Mr. 2's, made a video about Baby 5's, made a video about Bartolomeo. Oh, Bluino. I skipped over him for some reason, but Bluino's fruit also, the door fruit, the ability to, enter any room. That might be, it's the Blackbeard Crew we're talking about here. They're not going to worry about stealth as much as CP9 would. They wouldn't just try to sneak into the room to assassinate. They would just, destroy the entire wall and just like, yeah, guys, let's do this! But still, just the fact you have that pocket dimension that they used to escape the Buster Call at Ennie's lobby. They jumped into the air door dimension. Bluino took everybody in there, so they were able to survive the raid on Ennie's lobby. That would be a useful thing to have, so I just wanted to throw that on there. But yeah, so Bartolomeo's ultimate defense fruit, that would be, like, Bartolomeo, he uses his fruit in a unique way. It's just that his personality and the way that he, fawns over Luffy, and he also tries to, instigate stuff. He's always trying to piss people off. That's kind of Bartolomeo's thing, right? So that might actually turn out to be a detriment to him if Blackbeard's crew, rocks up and they're just like, all right, we're taking your fruit now. And yeah, Bartolomeo might let his emotions get ahead of him here. You might think, oh, Bartolomeo, he knows Blackbeard is Luffy's enemy, and so he might be like, oh, well, we'll defend... I'll defend this area, I'll keep my fruit because, I care about Luffy senpai. But, I don't know, Blackbeard might end up using that to his advantage in some way, who knows? Because, Bartolomeo's all, oh, I'm gonna defend Luffy, I gotta do this for Luffy. He might okay, well, he might get too excited there and he might leave him opening or something to attack or something, right? So that the Bari no Mi is definitely one that would be, looked at. Going on to Big Mom's crew a little bit, we have ovens. I was looking at all the ones like, Parasparrow's candy fruit. Oh, and something else is the Yonko's fruit, obviously. Big Mom's Soul, Kaido's Dragon Fruit. Those were also obvious, so I didn't really write them down, because it's like, of course, Blackbeard would be trying to go after those ones, right? I was kind of looking at some ones that we haven't seen in a while, or ones that were used by underlings, Paramecia's of that regard. That's really what this list was about. But yeah, I was looking at all those, like Daifuku's Genie isn't bad, but I think the one that they would probably want the most, something that has a lot of features, was Oven's Netsu. Not just for the fact that you can heat up your own body, but that, boiling tropical sea hell, that thing would be useful to have. Just to defend your island. Like, if they're living on that honeycomb beehive island, ships are, attacking from the south shore. Use Oven's fruit to just heat up the entire ocean and destroy their ship before it, catches fire before it even gets to the shore. So Oven's fruit would be very useful there. Just a very typical, elemental kind of fruit, just controls heat. Bello Betty's fruit, as well as Morley's fruit from the Revolutionary Army, the commanders. Bello Betty's, from what we've seen so far, is that it's a fruit that just allows her to affect other people, not herself. It might be able to affect herself, we just haven't seen it used that way. Usually how it works, her pump fruit, her Kobu, yeah, that's what it is, Kobu, she waves the flag and then empowers other people. If the Blackbeard Crew had that, actually, in conjunction, like if we're just going to go down the road that maybe Blackbeard can consume more than 2 fruits, if he can have 3 or possibly more. We've seen that Blackbeard has that power with the Gura Gura. He can kind of make his voice like booming, you know? He can make like earthquakes with his voice. So imagine like his voice earthquakes combined with the Kobu Kobu, like, you runts out there, raise up your arms and get to fighting, say ha ha. And then all the random foot soldiers of Blackbeard's crew are like, it's like they all get like super buff and they pick up weapons and stuff and they charge, right? So with that ability, even the underlings on Blackbeard's crew, even the random riffraff pirates, they would be empowered to the point where they could fight, you know, even like a little bit stronger opponents. Like, they wouldn't get like such a buff where they would be able to take down like admirals or like really high ranking, not like vice admirals or anything, but they would certainly be something to contend with, especially if it's like you wipe out all of Blackbeard's foot soldiers and you're like, all right, well now we move on to the 10 Titanic captains, and then Blackbeard or one of his minions just uses the power of the Kobu Kobu, is like, get up, men! And then all the men get up and they get back to fighting like a second wind. So that would be really useful for them to have. Morley's fruit, kind of in the same vein with like the Door no Mi. It would be really good to sneak into areas and stuff and like hide in certain areas. And, you know, the Blackbeard crew is not above doing that stuff. They were, you know, sneaking into Wano, and they have some sort of like a mole in Wano relaying information back to Blackbeard about what's going on with Luffy and Kaido. So there's some like, espionage kind of tactics going on with the Blackbeard crew. It's just they're not as trained as like CP9 is with this kind of stuff. So yeah, the Door fruit and Morley's fruit, that would be very useful to have. And the last one I put on this list, and feel free to leave, you know, your suggestions below. I was going through a bunch of them, and I'm just like, you know, like Miss Valentine or Mock Vice's fruit, like the fruits, the Kilo and the Ton fruit. Yeah, that would be cool to have like just extra battle power. But I was looking at fruits like if the Blackbeard crew was gonna make a list of like, these are the fruits that we need to go after, like high priority, what would that list look like? That was kind of my perspective here. So Logia's, Big Mom's, and Kaido's fruits, obviously, and then these ones right here. Like, if they ran across Mock Vice somewhere, and they're like, well, he has a fruit, like, you would, if you ran across any Devil Fruit user, no matter who it was, you would eliminate them and take their fruit. Even if it was a power, like, even if it was like Kelly Funk, and it was like, what kind of fruit do you have? I have the jacket fruit. Oh. Alright, well, you know, like, they take it, and they're like, alright, we have it now. Like, are we gonna use it for anything? Like, I guess not, but here you go. Oh, and the Oppi no Mi, too. Yeah, I think I should have, actually, I didn't include that one on here, oddly enough. Yeah, I should have, yes, the Oppi no Mi. That's, like, something that's regarded as, like, the ultimate devil fruit in a lot of circles. So, yeah, that also should be painfully obvious. They want this. We haven't really seen the Blackbeard crew go up against Law very much. Law's whole thing was against Kaido, which actually brings us to the last one on here, which is Roshinate's Calm fruit. Now, Roshinate, he is dead, of course, so we don't actually know where his fruit was. It would probably be on, I think it was Swallow Island. It was the island where they, you know, he died. So it might be somewhere on that island. Maybe Law found it and he took it with him, and obviously Law couldn't eat it because he already had the Oppi, but maybe Law has it somewhere on the Polar Tang as kind of like a reminder of his like big brother Roshinate, like his fatherly figure, kind of. It's possible he could have it as like just a memento, and like the reason why nobody on his crew is eating it is because it has a lot of sentimental value for Law, but it's still out there somewhere, and it's a fruit that once again would be very handy, especially in the hands of, like, you could just swap that out for the clear fruit that Shiryu had and give Shiryu the Calm fruit, and it would basically be the exact same result, where now Shiryu can turn invisible to sneak up on his enemies and just shing, and with the Calm fruit he would be able to silence the area and then sneak up on an opponent and go shing. So yeah, I mean, something for him that would be very useful there. Also, I wanted to bring up, if Blackbeard does have another kind of ability or some object or some method to just remove devil fruits out of people without killing them, let's say he could do that. Let's say, you know, he could just go up to Shiryu and just, all right, Shiryu, and just rips out the clear fruit, and then here's the Oppi no Mi. Now you have this one. You know, that lends to believe a whole other major problem here, where the Blackbeard crew could, like, swap out various devil fruits with other fruits whenever they wanted. They were not limited with, like, oh, I'm stuck with this fruit now for the rest of my life. If Blackbeard had some method to just rip it out of them with no negative effects, keep it, like, in a devil fruit armory, and then give them another one, or even if it's just like, man, I really want to go for a swim, but I'm a devil fruit user. Blackbeard's like, Zay-ha-ha, don't worry about that, matey, and just rips it out, and is like, okay, now you have no devil fruit power anymore, and I could give it back to you whenever you want. Keep that in mind. Might be a broken thing for him to do that, like rip fruits out and give them to whoever and just swap them out and keep them up in an armory, but it's possible. So, comment below on some devil fruits that you think would be on their, like, their high priority list to obtain. Like I said, you know, all Logias are pretty much just understood. The Yonko's fruits, you know, Law's fruit. Those are the kind of the obvious ones. Look back at some other ones, like, I don't know, Berry Goods, you know, berry fruit, where he could turn into little balls, but how maybe, you know, Van Augur might use that. Like, I don't know, turn into little balls, turn his gun into a ball gun, fire off little ball bullets. I don't know, I'm just throwing out ideas. So let me know below in the comments. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking signing out, and protect the fruits that are closest to you. Please, you don't want to end up like me.